The Wynn is the best hotel in Las Vegas. I'll say it plainly, no hedging, no qualifications, the best. Best maintained, best service, best rooms, best overall experience on the entire strip. Steve Wynn built it to last, obsessed over every detail. The marble, the fixtures, the sightlines, the way light falls through the windows. Quality that was designed to compound over time, not decay. Walk into a Wynn room today, decades after it opened, and it still feels current, still feels premium, still feels like someone cares. That's rare in Vegas, that's earned, that's real. But here's the problem. The best hotel in Las Vegas has convinced itself that being the best means it can charge anything, and anything has become absurd. $700 a night, $800, $900 on a busy weekend, $1,000 for a standard room on peak nights. Not a suite, not a villa, not a private bungalow with a butler and a pool. A regular hotel room in a casino in the Nevada desert. The Wynn isn't failing because of declining quality. The Bellagio is failing because of declining quality. The Venetian is failing because of declining quality. The Wynn is failing because of inflating prices. Because somewhere along the way, excellence became confused with immunity. Premium became confused with unlimited. They've created a bubble, and bubbles always pop. Today I'm showing you the Wynn Bubble. How the best property on the strip pushed prices so far past reasonable that even genuine quality can't justify the rates. How the math stopped working. How the customer base shrank to a sliver too small to fill 3,000 rooms. This isn't about quality decline. This isn't about deferred maintenance or skeleton crews or rooms that feel like 2010. This is about price insanity, about a property that confused being the best with being immune to economics, about greed dressed up as premium positioning. The Wynn Bubble is real, and I'm going to show you exactly why it's about to pop. If you're new here, I expose what's really happening behind the famous facades. Not the marketing, not the Instagram illusion, the actual business reality that determines whether these properties survive or collapse. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications. Because the Wynn represents something important. The proof that even quality has a price ceiling. The evidence that even the best can push too far. And Vegas across the board has blown past that ceiling. The Wynn just did it more aggressively than anyone. Let me show you what Wynn is actually charging now. Not the teaser rates on the website, not the from prices in the advertisements. The real numbers, with the fees, with the add-ons, with the hidden charges that appear when you check out. What tourists actually pay when they hand over their credit card and realize the $700 night just became something else entirely. The numbers will shock you, and they'll explain why something has to break. First, let's give credit where it's due, because this isn't a hit piece on quality. The quality is real. Steve Wynn was a perfectionist, famously, obsessively. The stories are legendary. He'd walk the property at 2 a.m. checking sightlines, fire contractors who cut corners, reject finishes that looked fine to everyone else but wrong to him, delay openings until details were right. The building materials at Wynn aren't standard casino construction. The marble is real, the wood is real, the attention to how spaces feel, not just how they look, is baked into the architecture. And unlike most Vegas properties, that investment has been maintained. The rooms get refreshed, the common areas get updated, the service training continues, the standards stay high. Walk into a Wynn room today and run your hand along the surfaces. Feel the weight of the door as it closes. Notice how the bathroom fixtures operate smooth, solid, intentional. Listen to the quiet, the soundproofing that most hotels skip. This is what premium actually feels like. Not gold-plated faucets and loud patterns. Substance, quality you experience with your hands, not just your eyes. The service matches the building. Staff who are actually trained, who have time to help because the ratios haven't been gutted, who make eye contact and mean it. The concierge who solves problems instead of pointing at an app. The valet who remembers your car. The housekeeper who notices what you need before you ask. At most Vegas properties, you feel like a number, a transaction, a room to be turned over. At the Wynn still, even now, you feel like a guest, someone they want there, someone worth the effort. That's earned. That's legitimate. That's why the Wynn commanded a premium for 2 decades. But there's a difference between commanding a premium and commanding a ransom. A premium is 20% more, maybe 30% for the genuinely best experience. A premium is the market saying, this is better, and better is worth paying for. What the Wynn charges now isn't a premium, it's a doubling, a tripling on peak nights, a bet that quality creates immunity from price sensitivity. Somewhere in the past 5 years, Wynn crossed the line from premium to fantasy, and the numbers prove it. 5 years ago, a weekend night at the Wynn cost $350, maybe $400 on a particularly busy weekend. Premium prices, justified by premium product. The math made sense. Today, that same room, not a better room, not a renovated room, the same room costs $700, $800, sometimes north of $1,000 on peak weekends. That's not inflation. Inflation runs 3–4% a year. This is a doubling in 5 years, 100% increase, while the product stayed essentially the same. Now add the resort fee, $50 per night, mandatory, not optional, not included in the advertised price. Pure extraction that appears at checkout whether you use the amenities or not. Now add parking, $40 for self-park, $50 for valet at a casino, where the entire business model depends on getting you to the property and keeping you there. Do the math on a weekend stay, Friday and Saturday night, $700 each, advertised rate. That's $1,400 visible dollars. Add resort fees, 50 times 2 nights equals $100 more. Add parking, 40 times 2 nights equals $80 more. Add tax because Vegas has a hefty room tax, another couple hundred. Your $1,400 weekend just became an $1,800 weekend, closer to $2,000 with incidentals. $2,000 for 2 nights in a hotel room. For that money, you could fly to Paris and stay at a 5-star hotel on the Seine. You could book a beachfront villa in Cabo. You could do a week at luxury resorts across most of America. The Wynn is asking travelers to pay world-class destination prices for a casino in a desert with no beach, no culture, no Eiffel Tower. Just quality rooms and good service, which matter, but don't matter that much. The Wynn has convinced itself that being the best in Vegas means it can charge like the best in the world. But Vegas isn't Paris. Vegas isn't Monaco. Vegas isn't competing with the global luxury tier. Vegas is and always was a value destination, a place where the experience punched above its price, where tourists felt like they were getting more than they paid for. That's the magic Vegas used to have, the sense that you were beating the house just by being there, that the room was too cheap, the drinks were free, the buffet was a steal. The Wynn took that equation and inverted it, made tourists feel like the house is beating them before they even sit down at a table. And that feeling, that nagging sense that you're being ripped off, poisons everything that comes after. The Wynn is the best hotel in Vegas. That's true, the quality is real, the experience is earned. But quality doesn't mean immunity. Excellence doesn't mean unlimited pricing power. Being the best doesn't mean you can charge anything and expect the market to pay. The Wynn took its earned premium, the legitimate 20 or 30% more that quality deserves, and inflated it into a bubble, a fantasy where $1,000 rooms were normal and tourists would always pay. But the tourists are doing math now, comparing prices, looking at Resorts World with rooms nearly as nice for half the cost, looking at Fontainebleau, brand new, and pricing to compete. The bubble is showing cracks, the midweek discounts are appearing, the value complaints are growing, the customer base that can afford $1,000 a night is too small to fill 3,000 rooms. And what happens next will prove that even quality can't save you from greed. How did we get here? How did a well-managed property with a legitimate quality advantage convince itself that $1,000 rooms were sustainable, that the laws of economics didn't apply, that being the best meant being immune? The answer is a feedback loop, a bubble logic, a series of decisions that made sense in isolation but created a trap the Wynn can't escape. Let me show you how the bubble inflated and why the air is starting to leak out. It started with revenge travel. 2021, 2022. The world opened back up and tourists flooded into Vegas like water through a broken dam. Pent-up demand from 2 years of lockdowns. Stimulus checks burning holes in pockets. The desperate, almost manic need to feel normal again. Hotels across the Strip raised prices, cautiously at first, then aggressively. The tourists paid, didn't blink, didn't comparison shop, just handed over credit cards and said, finally. Occupancy stayed high even as rates climbed. Revenue per room spiked. Profit margins exploded. The executives looked at the numbers and saw validation, saw proof that they'd been undercharging all along. The Wynn looked at those numbers and went further than anyone. They tested the ceiling, pushed prices, watched what happened. 500 sold out? Try 550. That sold too? Pushed to 600. 600 filled? Why not 650? Every price increase that didn't crater demand felt like permission. Felt like the market saying, you're worth it. Charge more. You're the best. Act like it. 700, 750, 800 on weekends, 900 on holidays, 1,000 on peak nights when the conventions are in town and the flights are full. The ceiling kept rising, or seemed to. Every test passed, every price point absorbed. Except they weren't finding the ceiling. They were creating an illusion that there wasn't one. The Wynn looked at the post-pandemic surge and made a fatal assumption. They assumed the demand was permanent, that revenge travel was just travel now, that tourists would always pay whatever they charged because tourists had been paying whatever they charged. They confused a moment for a market, a sugar high for sustainable nutrition. They were wrong. And the data is starting to prove it. Let's ask a simple question. Who actually pays $1,000 a night for a Vegas hotel room? Think about it. Really think about it. Not the middle-class family saving up for a special trip, the family that used to stretch for the Wynn once every few years as a splurge. They've been priced out completely. They're staying at Resorts World now for half the money, getting rooms nearly as nice, and wondering why they ever paid Wynn prices. Not the regular Vegas visitors, the people who used to come 3-4 times a year, who knew the property, loved the property, felt loyal to the property. They've done the math. They can do 2 trips to a competitor for the price of 1 Wynn stay. Loyalty has limits when the price doubles. Not the gamblers who justified premium rooms through gaming action, the players who expected comps, who earned their stays through losses at the tables. The casino can't comp what it used to when the base rates are this astronomical. The math broke for them too. So who's left? Who actually books a $1,000 room? High-income professionals who don't look at prices, tech executives, finance people, doctors celebrating something, a narrow slice of the population that treats 4 figures for a hotel room as normal, corporate travelers on expense accounts, people spending other people's money who don't care what it costs because they're not paying, international wealthy tourists, Russians before the sanctions, Chinese high rollers, Middle Eastern money, visitors for whom $1,000 is pocket change. Occasional splurgers, people who saved up for months for one blowout weekend, who will do this once, feel the sting, and never come back. That's the customer base now. That's who fills the Wynn at these prices. Here's the problem. That customer base is tiny. The Wynn has approximately 3,000 rooms. 3,000 rooms that need to be filled every night for the economics to work, for the staff levels to make sense, for the maintenance budgets to pencil, for the whole machine to function. But they've priced themselves into a customer base that might fill 300. The math doesn't math. And the cracks are starting to show. Watch the booking sites, not on New Year's Eve, not during the Super Bowl, not when a mega convention fills the city. Watch on a random Tuesday in February, a soft Wednesday in September, the midweek nights when Vegas isn't packed with tourists and the hotels have to actually compete for guests. You'll see the discounts appearing. The limited time offers that weren't there 18 months ago. The rate reductions dressed up as special promotions. Flash sales, member exclusives, quiet acknowledgments that at full price, the rooms don't fill. The Wynn is starting to blink, starting to admit through actions, if not words, what the bubble logic denied. At these prices, demand doesn't fill the building, and the reviews are shifting too. Not complaints about quality. The Wynn still delivers quality. The rooms are still beautiful. The service is still attentive. The experience is still premium. The complaints are about value. Beautiful hotel, but not worth $800. Loved everything about it except the price. This used to feel like a splurge. Now it feels like a ripoff. Can't recommend at these rates. Would come back if prices were reasonable. The best hotel I'll never stay at again. The perception is changing. The tourists who can afford Wynn are starting to ask a different question. Not, can I pay this? But should I? And more of them are answering, no. Because here's what the Wynn forgot in its bubble logic. They're not competing with Paris. They're not competing with Monaco, or the Maldives, or the global luxury tier. They're competing with the rest of Vegas. and the rest of Vegas noticed what Wynn was charging. The competition smelled blood in the water, and they're circling. Resorts World opened with rooms nearly as nice for half the price. Walk through both properties. Compare. The Wynn rooms are better. I won't pretend otherwise. The finishes are higher end. The details more refined. The quality differential is real. But is it twice as good? Is a Wynn room literally double the value of a Resorts World room? Because that's the math tourists are doing now. The Wynn at $700 versus Resorts World at $350, the Wynn at $1,000 versus Fontainebleau at $500, 80% of the quality for 50% of the price. That's a compelling trade-off. That's a trade-off more tourists are making every day. Even the declining legacy properties look like value now. The Bellagio, with its dated rooms and thin service, charging $400 a night while the Wynn charges $800. Is Wynn twice as good as Bellagio? Better, yes. Twice as good? Debatable. The Venetian, same ownership issues, same deferred maintenance, but pricing $300 less per night. Is that premium worth $300 to you? The competition isn't standing still. Resorts World is running promotions. Fontainebleau is pricing aggressively to build market share. Even the mid-tier properties are catching tourists who might have stretched for Wynn but can't justify the stretch anymore. The Wynn isn't competing in a vacuum, they're competing in a market. And the market is voting with its wallets. The Wynn created a bubble by confusing an earned premium with unlimited pricing power. They assumed being the best meant immunity from competition, immunity from price sensitivity, immunity from the basic economics that govern every hotel on Earth. The immunity was an illusion, a post-pandemic fever dream that's breaking against reality. The midweek discounts are appearing quietly, reluctantly, but appearing. The reviews are questioning value, not quality, but worth. The competitors are stealing market share with almost as good at half the price. The bubble isn't theoretical anymore. It's not a future risk, it's present tense. The air is leaking out. You can hear it if you listen. The soft hiss of discounts and declining bookings and tourists choosing elsewhere. And when bubbles leak, they don't slowly deflate. They don't gently correct. They pop. What happens when a bubble pops? Not a gentle correction, not a slow adjustment, not a gradual return to normal. A sudden, violent repricing, reality crashing through fantasy. The moment when everyone realizes at once that the numbers never made sense. The Wynn bubble hasn't popped yet, but the conditions are all in place. The pressure is building, and when it goes, it will reshape what luxury means in Las Vegas. A bubble pops when something breaks the psychology, when enough people realize simultaneously that the prices don't make sense, when the collective delusion shatters. For the Wynn, there are multiple trigger points waiting. Any one of them could be the pin. A recession, even a mild one, even a softening economy that makes people think twice about discretionary spending. The $1,000 a night customer isn't price insensitive, they're price tolerant. Tolerance evaporates when the stock portfolio drops or the bonus gets cut or the economy feels uncertain. Those rooms empty fast when confidence wavers. A bad quarter, when occupancy drops far enough that the discounts become permanent, when the special offers stop being special and start being the real rates, the perception of exclusivity shatters. If everyone's getting deals, the premium positioning is dead. A competitor move, Resorts World or Fontainebleau slashing prices to steal share, a price war that forces Wynn to respond or watch market share hemorrhage. They can't win a price war without destroying the premium positioning that justifies their existence. The pins don't announce themselves, they just appear. A bad jobs report, a stock market correction, a geopolitical event that freezes international travel, a viral video of a bad Wynn experience that changes the narrative overnight. Bubbles feel stable until they're not, feel permanent until they pop. The Wynn looks solid today, looks like it can sustain these prices forever. So did every bubble right before it burst. But here's the trap that makes this truly dangerous. When the bubble pops, the Wynn can't just lower prices and recover, can't simply discount rooms to fill them and wait for better times. The bubble created a cost structure that depends on bubble pricing, and that cost trap is where this story gets ugly. The Wynn has been pricing like a $1,000 hotel, which means it's been operating like a $1,000 hotel. Think about what that means. Staff levels calibrated to premium service expectations, enough concierges, enough valets, enough housekeepers, enough everyone to deliver the white glove experience that justifies astronomical rates. That labor costs money, serious money, every day. Maintenance standards that match premium pricing. The rooms refreshed constantly. The common areas gleaming. The details attended to. The quality maintained at a level that tourists paying $1,000 expect. That maintenance costs money, serious money, every year. Amenities and experiences designed to justify the rates. The restaurants, the pools, the spa, the nightlife, the everything that makes the Wynn feel like it's worth what they're charging. All of it costs money to operate at the level the pricing promises. All of that works at $1,000 a night. The margins support the cost structure. The revenue covers the expenses. The machine functions. But when the bubble pops, when they have to drop to $600 to fill rooms, to $500 on soft nights, to $450 during the death spiral, the margins collapse. The cost structure that made sense at $1,000 doesn't work at $500. Do the math. If your costs assume $800 average rates and your actual rates drop to $500, you're losing money on every room. Not making less money, losing money. The Wynn can't maintain Wynn-level quality at mid-tier prices. The economics don't allow it. Something has to give. This is the cruel math of bubbles. The inflation creates dependencies. The high prices fund the high costs. The high costs become embedded, expected, contractual. You can't just turn them off. And when the air comes out, when the prices fall but the costs remain, everything built on the bubble collapses together. The Wynn is trapped between costs they can't cut and prices they can't sustain. If the Wynn has to permanently reduce prices, quality follows. It has to. There's no other option. Cut room rates, cut staff. Reduce the concierge team. Thin the housekeeping. Slow the valet. Every labor cost scrutinized. Every position questioned. Cut staff? The service suffers. The wait times increase. The personal attention disappears. The experience that justified premium pricing becomes indistinguishable from any other hotel. Cut maintenance? The rooms start to age. The refreshes get delayed. The details slip. The bathrooms that felt premium start to feel tired. The quality advantage erodes. Cut amenities? The restaurants close or get cheaper operators. The pool experience degrades. The spa becomes an afterthought. The whole ecosystem that made Wynn feel like Wynn starts to hollow out. And once quality drops, the premium evaporates entirely. Why pay even $500 for a Wynn that feels like every other property? Why pay $400 for service that's no better than Bellagio's thinned-out skeleton crew? The thing that justified the premium, the actual, tangible, experiential quality, gets destroyed in the attempt to survive the price correction. The Bellagio path. The Venetian trajectory, the slide from luxury to legacy, from excellence to memory, from the best hotel in Vegas to just another overpriced casino trading on a name. The Wynn staked everything on being the quality leader, on justifying any price through superior experience. If they can't maintain that experience, they have nothing. They become what they spent 2 decades refusing to be. That's the death spiral. Price drops force cost cuts. Cost cuts destroy quality. Destroyed quality eliminates premium justification. Eliminated premium forces more price drops. Repeat until nothing special remains. But there is another path. A painful one. A humiliating one. But maybe a survivable one. The Wynn could accept that the bubble was a mistake. Admit it not publicly, but operationally in the decisions they make. Reset prices to sustainable levels, not the bubble fantasy of $1,000, not the death spiral desperation of $400, something in between, $600, $650, a real premium that reflects real quality without demanding delusion. Eat the margin compression, accept that profits will drop, that shareholders will complain, that executives will squirm in earnings calls explaining why revenue per room declined. Find efficiencies that don't destroy quality. There's always fat to trim, always costs that don't actually serve the guest experience. Cut the waste, not the substance. Rebuild the customer base. Welcome back the middle-class splurgers who were priced out. Court the regular visitors who defected. Remind them why they loved the Wynn before the bubble priced them into exile. It would hurt, genuinely hurt. Wall Street would punish the stock. Analysts would downgrade. Headlines would scream about declining revenues and compressed margins. The executives who inflated the bubble would have to explain why they're deflating it, would have to admit implicitly, if not explicitly, that they pushed too far, that the $1,000 room was a mistake. Corporate ego doesn't like admitting mistakes, especially profitable-looking mistakes, especially mistakes that juiced short-term numbers and earned bonuses before the consequences arrived. But the alternative is worse. The alternative is the death spiral. The alternative is watching the best hotel in Vegas become just another fading name. The Wynn is the best hotel in Las Vegas. That's still true, today, right now. The quality is real, the experience is genuine, the premium is earned, at least it was, before they inflated it into absurdity. But being the best doesn't mean immunity from economics, doesn't mean you can charge anything, doesn't mean the rules don't apply to you because your rooms are nicer. The Wynn built a bubble, inflated it with post-pandemic arrogance and the intoxicating feedback of prices that kept climbing without apparent consequence. That bubble is leaking now. The discounts are appearing, the value complaints are growing, the competition is circling with fresher product at lower prices. The customer base that fills 3,000 rooms at $1,000 a night simply doesn't exist. Bubbles don't deflate gracefully, they pop violently, suddenly, taking everyone by surprise, even though the warning signs were everywhere. The Wynn has a choice: deflate deliberately, painfully, but controlled, or wait for the pop catastrophic, but someone else's fault. History suggests which choice most companies make, and history suggests how that choice usually ends. Hit subscribe to watch the Wynn Bubble in real time. I'm tracking the rates, every discount, every soft opening offer, every sign that the air is coming out. I'm watching the reviews, every comment about value, every tourist saying they won't return at these prices, every data point that shows perception shifting. Drop a comment. Have you priced a Wynn stay recently? Did the numbers make you book or make you look elsewhere? Would you pay $1,000 for the best room in Vegas? What's the most you'd actually pay? Because the Wynn is betting you'll pay anything. Betting that quality equals immunity, betting that the bubble can inflate forever. But tourists have options now, new builds with fresh product, legacy properties that look like value by comparison, a market that's learning to say, not at that price. The Wynn is the best hotel in Vegas, but even the best has a ceiling, even quality has a limit, even excellence can't survive greed. The Wynn bubble is real, the air is leaking, and bubbles don't leak for long. They pop. I'll see you in the next one.